That's the other thing that Manchin mentioned, that he resents being held hostage for the bipartisan infrastructure side of things by this other bill. And we go back and forth, but one's one and one's the other. The Journal points out today that the CBO, they're not going to be able to score it before it's voted on. And they say this much vaunted framework is like a house with only 2x4s in place. The rest of the things are going to be added before anyone can really look at what the implications are, whether it will be debt financed, deficit financed, whether it will be inflationary, that we won't know because we're not going to know what the final product is, and we're going to be voting on it. There's no merit to that argument either from Manchin.
Well, look, we have been laying out how we envision paying for this thing since the spring. And it's really clear fundamentally what it comes down to, which is tax fairness. And one of my favorite things about this package is as Americans hear how we are proposing to pay for it, support goes up even higher than the almost ridiculously high level of support that this legislation has among the American people, because they can see what the benefits of the bill will do for them, right? It's very easy for people to understand how their family would be impacted by pre-K free for 3- and 4-year-olds, when right now the average family spends, I think, $8,600 on that. That's very easy for Americans to compute what you would do with that $300 a month child tax credit, what it would be like in your life if you could knock off $12,500 off the cost of an electric vehicle, buy it, and never have to worry about gas prices again. But I think also Americans are conscious of living in a tax system that just isn't very fair. Giant corporations making billions in profits. We're happy for them to be profitable, but paying zero in taxes. I mean, when a firefighter's paying more, not just in percentage terms, but literally in dollar terms, than some of these giant corporations, you know something's off. We're working on that, right? There's this remarkable achievement of the global minimum tax and a lot of other things going on that'll offset that. So, of course, you get into the guts of it, the black and white, the text, the details. There's a lot to quibble over, a lot to examine. But at the end of the day, the bill will, by definition, is voted on as a concrete black and white document that every one of the members of the House and the Senate who's asked to support it has a chance to scrutinize and decide if they're for or against.
Mr. Secretary, I wanted to ask you about one component of this bill that has caused a lot of debate on our program, in fact, which is the plan to effectively advantage car manufacturers that use union labor over others. That would include, of course, the Teslas of the world and the Toyotas of the world. We've had an executive from Toyota on the program. By my math, it looks to me like Tesla employees and possibly Toyota employees in certain cases are being paid better than union employees at the other car manufacturers. So I'm trying to understand what the policy strategy is here.
Well, look, we've said from the outset that we want to make sure we're creating more good-paying American union jobs in this country. Now, when you look at the EV race, it's been clear for some time that electric is where industry is going. But what's not going to happen on its own is for it to happen, A, fast enough to beat the climate challenge, B, happen on American soil as much as possible, and C, where possible, happen with good paid American union labor. So this tax incentive package is set up to promote all of those things. First, the baseline, right? Just getting more electric, period. And that's kind of the core of these incentives. And then, yeah, look, we love anytime someone buys an electric car, but we're going to love it a little bit more when it's an American car made on American soil, when it's an American company. That's something the president cares strongly about, just like we believe that some of these issues with supply chains
I think
and all
the
the things we're importing would be easier if it was made at home.
I understand that made at home issue, but we're talking about automakers that are making them at home, some with union labor, some without. In some cases, there's been employees that are not part of the union who've actually decided on their own not to unionize because they actually think they're getting paid better. And so what I'm trying to understand is why, from a policy perspective, you want to advantage those over those other employees and those companies.
Well, our policy is that when workers have union protections, they are more secure. Communities tend to be stronger. And, as the president often says, unions built the middle class. So it's something we believe in. As you noted, it's not a requirement to get in on this incentive at all, but it does create some encouragement for that kind of work. I mean, look, I come from the industrial Midwest. I've seen what is possible when people can rely on that kind of support for their families, the social capital as well as economic capital that's built up. I don't know if there's an apples to apples comparison across some of these firms. Anytime a firm pays its employees well, that's good news, and we welcome that. But I think we all know that there are certain protections that a lot of workers in the auto industry and other industries are going without, that it's no accident that the gradual erosion of union support and participation since the 80s happened at the same time as an explosion of inequality and an increase in financial insecurity for the American working and middle classes. And this president has been extremely clear, including when he was running, right? I mean, he got elected president largely on his promise that he was going to be a very pro-worker president, and this is part of that.